It's Baseball at the Corner. This is the Michigan in Trouble podcast with your hosts, Alex S. Freeman and Luke Jaconis.
Luke, welcome to the show. I wish we were under better circumstances than kind of the current state of the season, but we did snap the losing streak both in season and against Cleveland. So, and we won the series against Cleveland as we take this to tape on Sunday afternoon, right after the last inning of today's game. So, I guess we'll take that. Otherwise, how's your week been?
How's my week been? Good. I worked a lot, so I was very tired. Went on some bike rides, went to the gym, golfed a little bit on Sunday. Been rewatching all of the old MTV Real World Road Rules challenges on CBS All Access. So that's how my week has pretty much been. Oh, and then also I've been getting very mad at the Tigers every night this week because they've just, other than this Cleveland series, did not look good. I mean, I think the worst part about the 9-game losing streak that they were on, pretty much every game they lost, they weren't in. Like, they were just pretty much shellackings. The Casey Mize game, that was a great pitcher's duel between him and Dunning for both making some very impressive debuts. But even then late in the game, Jose Abreu, who seems to just be hitting everything right now. I mean, my God, the White Sox. Are you buying into the hype about the White Sox?
I am a little bit more now. Now that they seem to be getting the bats working. And I think that so long as they keep doing that, they're going to be a pretty hard team to beat in most situations.
Even if their pitching kind of doesn't show up like they would want it to, the bats can back up kind of faulty pitching, so they've got that going for them. But the hard part about this losing streak was, I mean, we don't even talk about the 20 game to Cleveland, and thank God it snapped. It was becoming one of the most lopsided losing streaks in like baseball history, I'm pretty sure. But it's done. It's over with. We can move on. Great, I guess. I don't know. But in regards to the 9-game losing streak, other than that one really Mize game, we weren't in any of the games. I mean, it seems like we got down early because the starting pitching was horrific, and then the bats just couldn't back us up in any way. And even if they did, then the bullpen would falter or the bats would just stay cold. So, I mean, it was rough. And for that reason alone, and I said it on last week's show, I tweeted it out after we officially lost the series to the Sox, I think our playoff chances for 2020 are officially done. I just don't think you can lose 9 in a row in a 60-game season and anticipate or expect to make the playoffs. I don't think it's going to happen. So what I would like to see now, there's a lot of things I'd like to see now. I'm sure we'll get into it, but just consistent, clean, Major League Baseball. That's what I want to see. And if they can go for it, right now they're 11-15. If they could make a run for 500, that would be great. They're going to have to play really good baseball and really, just solid baseball against really good teams. We're still going to see the Sox. We're still going to see Cleveland. We see the Cubs this week. By the way, we haven't even seen Minnesota.
We've yet to see Minnesota.
We've yet to even seen Minnesota. So it's like, let's see how that all goes. Yeah, we got a couple games against the Brewers and the Royals, so maybe we take a couple there. But I mean, from here on out, it's top dogs after top dogs. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. But yes, reiterating from last week's show and saying now, I think the season is over with. Once they officially lost that series to the Sox, I think that was kind of the nail in the coffin. And again, I just don't think you can lose 9 straight in a 60-game season and think you're going to make the playoffs. However, I will say this, that on a positive note, it was very cool to see them take 2 of 3 against Cleveland. I didn't anticipate that. And honestly, I don't want to say I think they should have swept Cleveland, but I'm still a little pissed about that Saturday night loss. I felt like that was a very winnable game. Now, look, we don't know what happens after that 6th inning. When that 6th inning came, everything just kind of unraveled. I know we'll kind of do breakdowns for each game here in a bit, but yeah, I still kind of got a bad taste in my mouth about the Saturday night loss to Cleveland. But it is what it is. It's in the past. Streaks are snapped. We got a 1-game win streak. Woohoo! And we took a series against Cleveland in Cleveland. We're 4 games under 500. Depending on how this Royals game ends up, we're either in 4th or 5th place. And at this point in time, for the rest of the season, clean baseball, consistent baseball, maybe go for 500. And I want to see these young guys really just start getting more plate appearances, pitchers going out there. Skubal had a much better start out on the Sunday game than he did in his debut last week against the Sox, so that was good to see. But more or less, just want to see that throughout. with the young guys, and maybe that even then kind of transforms and reaches other guys on the team like Michael Fulmer and Boyd and Cabrera and Kristen Stewart. But we can get all of that in a bit.
Yeah, I think, to kind of stick with the streak conversation a little bit, I did the math on that 9-game losing streak, and it is the equivalent to a 25 game losing streak in a regular season, which is, nearly an entire month of baseball. And you just can't expect to lose that many in a row and make the playoffs without some help. Like, I think, is the door completely shut? No, but they are obviously they're going to have to go on a bit of a streak at some point to get back to 500. It doesn't need to be a 9-game winning streak to completely offset the 9-game losing streak, but you do need to, go through a streak where you peel together 5-6 maybe wins, to kind of start to claw your way back into 500 territory. And then you're going to need some help because you lost a bunch of division games just now. And so you're going to need one of those teams, if not two of those teams, to hit a skid like you just hit. And then you're vaulted back into the conversation. But I mean, it's a tough division right now. It's a very tough division. You
might be honestly, it might be the best division in baseball. For real.
Yeah. I think it's hard to argue that a different division is stronger top to bottom than the American League Central is right now, and I think that's evidenced by the 3 teams that are clustered at the top, all within a game of each other, all with multiple ways to win games.
Yeah,
and then also like we have mentioned this previously when talking about the series against the Royals. Like, the Royals aren't as bad as we like to think the Royals are. And similarly, like this Tigers lineup has shown that they can go out and beat any team on any given day. It just is a matter of them not putting up the thing. One of the things about the 9-game losing streak for me too, that it sort of revealed for me in the course of this season, is that like, it's because of where this team is in the quote unquote rebuild. Like, this is to be expected in this team. And like, sometimes the starting pitching is really working, but it's not quite, all the pieces aren't quite there, that we have like the consistent rotations going to come out and do the things. And then similarly with the bullpen, similarly with all of our defensive infielders and their batting. And like, it's still like some pieces are coming together at times, and like guys are still learning. And so they're going to put it together. So I guess the follow-up here, Luke, is, there's two kind of big, I don't really feel much to talk about in the White Sox series, except for the debuts. Yeah. So let's go into the debuts conversation, and talk about first, outside of the pitchers, let's talk about Isaac Paredes.
First of all, let's talk about this with Isaac Paredes, that his name is pronounced Isaac and not Isaac. So pretty much up until this point, I know I have at least. I think we're both here together. We were both completely butchering probably his first and his last name. I had no idea it was Isaac. When I think it was Shep said on his debut game, Isaac, I was like, Shep, this isn't going to help your broadcasting thing.
Come on, man.
I'm like, you got to at least get Isaac down. But then I looked into it and I was like, no, it's pronounced like E-sock, like a sock you wear on your foot. And I even texted it to you, like I had to do like the phonetics of it. And I was like, it's pronounced Isaac, not even Isaac. I mean, my God, it was just talk about us looking like doofuses all this time. But I honestly had no clue. Isaac Paredes, yes, his debut week. I'm going to talk about because other than he had the 2 RBI hit against the Sox last week, other than that, I mean, it was whatever. He kind of made a few errors at third, but I mean, I'm just going to kind of chalk that up to nerves and just being in the big leagues for, his first week there. Had a real good series, though, against Cleveland. Obviously, he had the big grand slam Friday night, and today I think he went 3 for 4 on the Sunday game.
Yeah,
so, I mean, a really nice
and like really nice hits, nothing like bloopy or weird, just like really well placed hits. The thing I like about him is he's so patient at the plate that he. They were talking about it on the broadcast today, that he's not afraid to get behind in counts. He will take pitches. He, puts together 7, 8, 9 pitch at bats that either then he will find a way to get on base from them. And I just think that's what I'm most encouraged about, because it's a thing that we've talked about with this team in general is that they were not particularly patient at the plate for the first,
No, and I have the numbers
half of the season so far.
Yeah. We have numbers to back that up coming up soon. Get ready, folks. But I just thought overall, what I really liked about Paredes was he just looked like he belonged. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't see nerves, and maybe I just kind of contradicted myself there because he did make a few errors this past week, so maybe we can chalk that up to nerves. But beyond that, at the plate at least, I thought he really fit in well. I'll be curious to see going forward in his Tiger career or just his MLB career in general, if he ever makes an adjustment to his stance and swing. I think his swing is good. I just wonder, because he's kind of got that left leg back so much and he's got to take a big step forward, I wonder if they would maybe try to slim some things down, maybe tighten it up a bit. But, only time will tell. We can't look into a guy's swing when he hasn't even been in the majors for a full week yet. So, let's give the guy, a lot of benefit of the doubt right now. He was making his major league debut. For him, Skubal and Mize, it's not easy in general to make your major league debut. I can only imagine the nerves are racing. You're excited. You're scared. It's a whirlwind of emotion. Add into all that this team was in the middle of a horrific losing streak in season. They get swept by the Sox, and then they have to go to Cleveland where they hadn't won a game since April of last year. So you have to imagine the pressure was on even more so than it just being a regular, hey, you're making your major league debut. Oh, by the way, we're on a big losing streak, and then we're going to be approaching an even bigger losing streak this weekend against Cleveland. So have fun. Welcome to the show, kid. So, it is what it is. But I thought Paredes looked real good in there. That grand slam he hit on Friday night, that was fun. Mm-hmm. Now, that was fun to see. But I think you said it best. I watched a little bit of the game on Sunday. Just the consistent hitting from Paredes in the Sunday matinee game is what I like to see. Obviously, we all love the big flies, but he just, in general, he looks like he belongs and he has that confidence. And I can't wait to see. It's going to be interesting. We'll have to do an off-season episode, I'm sure of it all. But Torque is right now is a quote unquote our third baseman. We've got Jamer, who right now is one of not only the best defenders we have on the team, but one of the best hitters on the team. You've got Isaac Paredes, who's been playing third. We're going to have some pretty cutthroat position battles here. You'd have to imagine next spring, and we'll see how it all shapes up. But for Paredes, just to kind of put a button on him, I thought it was a nice debut, especially in the Cleveland series. I thought he really looked like he belonged, and I'm happy for the guy.
Yeah, let's go to Tarik Skubal then, who also made his debut, and we've now seen him twice since last week's episode. And a little shaky in the first one. Came out, had a couple of struggles today, but otherwise pitched a pretty clean looking game for the 2 or so innings that he was in. Still on the limited pitch count. Yeah. Which is, I am fine with it from him, from a new guy bringing up into the rotation. I'm fine with the limited pitch count. They stretched him. He went about 45 on last Tuesday, went about 60 today. So we're starting to get there. Now we got to just get him through some innings a little bit cleaner than he's been getting through them, so that he can go deeper into those games. But but otherwise, another guy that sort of looked like he belonged, and now some of that is because the Tigers starting rotation has been fairly abysmal of late, and so the things he was giving up was not a surprise. Mm-hmm. But I have said it, you have said it, many people have said it. I would much rather see a guy come in and give up leadoff home runs. And I stand by that, as we've watched Skubal do that 2 games in a row, because it means that he is still attacking the strike zone. And he missed on the pitch because the guy was able to get around on it. But otherwise he is attacking hitters, and I like to see that.
Yeah, I just made mention of it. This was a tough week for debuts. Not only are these guys making their debuts, and on top of that, there's some big losing streaks happening in the process. But then for guys like Mize and Skubal, to have to make your debuts against this Chicago White Sox lineup, no easy task at all. We have seen that the damage that the White Sox can do at the plate. They're just long ball monsters at this point, and so no easy task for them. Yeah, his debut last week against the Sox wasn't great. Much better on the Sunday matinee against Cleveland. I echo all your thoughts. I'm cool with them kind of keeping him on a more limited pitch count. You got to remember, this was one of the guys who back in July tested positive for COVID.
Mhm.
And from all the accounts and the stories we've heard and read, he was battling, and it was brutal. It was absolutely brutal to him. So the fact that he's even in the majors right now, and he got the call over guys like Manning or Faedo, that speaks volumes, in my opinion, at least, to, hey man, this guy beat COVID's ass and he's still in the major leagues pitching. You know what I mean? So I think that's just a testament to his kind of strength and willpower that he has as a person, and that will only transition into his pitching, I have no doubt. So we just got to get him to go some longer innings. But honestly, that's kind of the story for a lot of guys right now.
Mhm.
That's the story for Michael Fulmer. That's the story for Daniel Norris. That's the story for Tarek Skubal. So and I have some comments on the whole Fulmer Norris situation, which we'll get to a little bit later. But for 2 starts, I'm pleased. I'm just happy he's here. And I don't mean to sound mean when I say this. I would much rather watch Tarek Skubal get to go out there and throw 3 innings than Ivan Nova or Jordan Zimmerman or Ronnie Garcia. Mm-hmm. Guys that we know that probably aren't going to be at the team much more past this season. Thanks for your time. But you know what? Time to move on. Skubal's the future. Let's give the kid a shot.
Yep, I agree completely. Which brings us to Casey Mize, who we saw last Wednesday. We will see tonight, as this episode comes out Monday morning. He's the Monday night pitcher against the Cubs as we open that 3-game series. I mean, what was it? Final line was 10 strikeouts, somewhere in there.
I want to say 7 or 8. I could be wrong.
Either way, I'll take 7 or 8.
I'll take 7 to 10 strikeouts for your major league debut against the Chicago White Sox. Yeah. I think that's okay. We'll take it.
Another guy that came in, took his opportunity, and is sort of running with it in a nice way. And that can be said of all 3 guys that really came up and debuted this week. That they had this moment, this chance, and now they have made the argument that they should be here the rest of the season. And I kind of, regardless of what Al Avila may have been thinking, now I don't think that there's any way around that these guys are definitely here to stay, and I love that.
Well, I don't know what Al Avila is thinking. Clearly, I don't have tons of confidence in him. But, you can make the argument that, I mean, first of all, these guys, I think, just should have been up here a while ago. It's clear that prior to even going on the 9-game losing streak, the biggest Achilles heel was the starting pitching. And when you've got an abundance of highly touted prospects in your minors in terms of pitching, why not give these guys a shot in a shortened 60-game season? So I said that this whole time. I'm going to keep saying it. I think they should have been up here before this. But then let's look at the facts. It no longer, I think I said it last week, it was no longer really a want. It was something we needed. It was out of necessity that guys like Skubal and Mize got the call, because who else was going to pitch? Nova's down. Zimmerman's been down. Fulmer has not been good. Boyd has not been good. Love Spencer Turnbull, but even he's been struggling as of late. Really, who else are we going to point to? Alexander, Ronnie Garcia? I mean, enough is enough. Let's get these guys a shot. So, I don't know if I really want to give Al Avila props for calling them up when I think they probably should have been here 2 to 3 weeks ago, but that's a different conversation to have. But in terms of Mize, it was awesome. It was so great to see. And I know he kind of got banged up in that 5th inning when he came back out. I think his final line, he went 4 1/3, if I'm not mistaken. But you know what? It was just fun to see him. And it was kind of nice to finally be like, oh my God, this is the future. Like, finally, a piece of the future is here. Multiple pieces with Skubal, Paredes, and Mize. It's like, holy hell, these guys are, these are going to be the guys, hopefully, for the next 5-6 seasons, So let's enjoy it, if not longer than 5-6 seasons. Let's hope. But I thought Mize looked great. I thought he looked totally in command. I thought he looked very calm. Honestly, I didn't see him getting that flustered. I know he kind of got banged up towards the end of his start, but man, that splitter, that is a dangerous pitch. He's going to make a lot of people look very nasty on that for years to come. So I think, it's great to see him. I can't wait to see what he does tomorrow night, or tonight, again, recording on a Sunday, tonight against the Cubs, his home debut as a Detroit Tiger. And again, with all 3 of these guys, even Skubal, who I know probably struggled the most out of 3, but Skubal, Paredes, and Mize, I was just kind of really impressed by the professionalism
Mhm.
I really just felt like they felt like they belonged, and I didn't really feel maybe Mize. Because when Casey Mize pitched, it was like such a big thing for Tigers fans. They're like, "Oh my God, here we go, the Golden Boy, he's here." But even including him with the other two, I just felt like they all felt like they belonged, and they just looked ready. They didn't look scared. They didn't look overwhelmed. And that's what I want to see. And in terms of guys like Casey Mize and even Skubal, who, he was giving up some runs, going at guys. Go at guys. Get that first pitch strike. It really sets the tone of an at-bat. I hate to sound like a basic Little League coach here, but, like, seriously, first pitch strike is everything. It really can determine how an at-bat is going to go for a pitcher and for the hitter, even, on the opposite side. So, it was great to see. It's exciting. The future is here. A lot more other pieces to go to, and that's kind of the fun thing. We actually have, believe it or not, even though the fact we just went on a 9-game losing streak, we actually have some offensive pieces right now that are doing fairly well and are succeeding, which is great. We have some that are not. We'll talk about those too in just a little bit. But the fun thing for me is, and I'm sure it is for you, Alex, and just all us Tiger fans in general, it was great to see Casey. It was great to see Tarek. It was great to see Isak. But we haven't even heard of Riley Green yet, or Spencer Torkelson, or Matt Manning, or Alex Faedo, or Joey Wentz. Cody Clemens. The list goes on and on. There are some other really big names that are waiting in the wings. So it's very exciting. This is an exciting time. But we have to keep in mind too, and I tell this to myself. One, we should not be getting down on any of these guys if they don't succeed right away. And I didn't see that from Tigers Twitter, which was great to see. Everyone seemed fairly supportive, which I think that's what you have to do right now. But just because these guys come here, just because we might see Spencer Torkelson in Detroit next year, or we might see Casey Mize making the starting rotation out of camp, I assume we would, doesn't automatically mean we're competing. I hope we do. But it's going to take some time still. I hope we can progress that time and, learn on the fly, almost like a la the Cardinals, who we rave about all the time. I don't want to have to keep stopping and subtracting and adding pieces and, have a tank season to get a draft pick, but then play 500 the next season. This is hopefully, we almost want to turn this into a snowball. It's just starting out big. We want to roll it up, and hopefully one day it turns into a big, bright, beautiful snowman. So we got our bottom half of our snowman right now. A lot more to go. We still need the other 2/3, but exciting things are happening. Boy, I bet you didn't think you'd hear a Christmas reference in August, but alas, this is the kind of content you get on Michigan and Trumbull. Boom.
I love it. Yeah, I think that's a really great way to put it, Luke, is that the future is coming. The future is starting to be here, but it's not here. It's not here in full yet. Because also, and one thing that we have on record from the Illiches is that they are ready to spend money when the time has come to spend money. So as we get all those pieces coming up, that's when we can start adding some of those bigger ticket free agents, which probably won't be next year. I would guess it will be more 2022. That's the season going in where the checkbook will really get opened. But that doesn't mean that, I think that we're in for if this is the season where we're, going on 9-game losing streaks and then battling back to 500 and then maybe falling a couple games below 500 again, where next year I see more as the season we are more consistently at 500. We are much more like a game above 500, falling back to 500, 3 games above 500, falling back to 500, much more in that category. And then 2022 is where I foresee we are, competing for a division crown.
I hope. I would like to see this be a year, maybe, just maybe, for the off season in terms of not the actual this season, when we go into the off season in November, December, whatever. Maybe we start seeing, I don't know if I want to say multi-year contracts, but maybe you go out and get someone, an outfielder, for a multi-year deal or a 1-year deal. Hell, I think honestly, if I'm being completely honest right now, and who knows, we still got a while to go for this season, but the 2 guys, it was actually 3 guys right now I really would like to see back out of everybody, and that's Austin Romine, CJ Cron, and Jonathan Scope. Now, I think Romine for real. I don't know. I've really liked Austin Romine this season. I think he's done a fantastic job coming in and just being a leader at that bottom of the lineup. I think he's done a great job. We obviously wanted to see more of CJ Cron, but an injury prevented us from getting to have that experience. So that kind of sucks. But I'm still, as of now, I'm totally down to have him back next year. And the reason I say I'd like to see Scope back is obviously because he's hitting. I don't know, though, what's going to happen. I mean, because I think there's a good chance a week from now we might be doing a show and he might not even be on the team anymore. I mean,
those rumors seem to be getting hotter and hotter that Scope may be on the block to be traded, to be flipped for a few options. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's something about the way Austin has been approaching this whole season that he seems to like really relish the role that he has, where he is, mentoring the young pitchers as they come up. He is guiding these pitchers through a lot of games. He is, a very like solid hitter for us at the bottom of the order. And I think that, I would love to see all three guys. If we, obviously we may deal Scope this season. We'll see what happens there in terms of that. But yeah, I mean, I think that I would agree with you. One of the, not to be. I particularly when it comes to the Tigers, I hate when I'm defending management. But I do understand the current with so many riches in the farm system, not knowing how many of those guys are going to develop in the way that you want them to. I do understand not going out and getting guys on multi-year deals. Because you don't want to be in a situation where you're a little bit hamstrung with a contract. And so you then either have to try and find somebody to eat that contract of a guy who may be underperforming, or a guy who is performing just as well as your, as we'll just use Riley Green as an example. Like if the guy it's time for Riley Green to make his debut, but we're loaded with outfield talent. Like that is a situation that already we could be in because there is a decent amount of talent in the Tigers outfield.
You would kind of, I feel like you'd want to almost kind of, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you must almost want to kind of replicate like what the White Sox have been doing. Like they've had all of these big guys coming up through the farm system, whether, Yoan Moncada, Luis Robert, Eloy Jimenez, although they got him for the trade from the Cubs. I bet the Cubs are just like, damn it, we screwed up big time. But, it's still though more of a prospect that he was. But they've kind of peppered in then those 3 or 4 year deals with a guy like Yasmani Grandal or Edwin Encarnacion. I'm not saying by any means this offseason I think the Tigers should be going out to sign like someone, not Mookie Betts, but someone like a Mookie Betts to that big, 8 to 10 year deal. I don't think that's smart at all right now. But would I mind maybe seeing some guy go out and get a 1 to 2 year contract? Yeah, sure. I mean, even if it's just something that kind of extends, because right now I just feel like that'd be nice to kind of have that security. But then at the same point too, like you said, we've got a lot of guys coming up. I mean, we still haven't seen Riley Green. We haven't seen Derek Hill. We haven't seen Daz Cameron, and even guys playing right now, whether it's Victor Reyes or Jacoby Jones or Nico, who we know can play the outfield, but now he's our shortstop. So I mean, the outfield's cluttered as is, and then maybe what do you do for infield stuff too? Because as I just mentioned not too long ago, we're going to have a third base battle, it seems, sometime here in the future with Paredes, Candelario, Torkelson. I'm sure there's a couple other names you could throw into that list as well. So maybe the only spot I could see opening up would be something like a second base or a shortstop. But even then, though, we have guys I feel like that can kind of fill that void. So it'll be interesting to see. Honestly, maybe we see something more of the pitching. Along the lines of pitching, maybe someone going out and get a 1 or 2 year deal. But again, only time will tell. Let's worry about this season. We can deal about the offseason when the time comes.
Yeah, speaking of this season, let's dive into some little bit more series specific conversations. So talking about this, as we said, I think we talked about what we wanted to talk about in the White Sox series.
Yeah, there's nothing more to talk about.
Yeah, it was pretty ugly, and that is that. But we did win this series against Cleveland, taking 2 of the 3 games, which is obviously we've mentioned snapped that 20-game losing streak against Cleveland that dated back to April of last year.
And this was our first win this is our first series win against the Indians since, I believe they said at the end of the broadcast, September of 2018. Woof. So coming on 2 years. Yep. First series win in almost 2 years for the Tigers against Cleveland.
Yeah, that is there's no other way to put that. It was terrible. I know we want to talk. I think most of this conversation is going to focus on Saturday's game. Just kind of my sense of our text conversation and our pre-conversation. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about Daniel Norris today in today's game. He pitched, I think, 3 innings today. coming in the the COVID platoon of Skubal and Norris.
Yeah.
But he pitched really well. It's starting to look really good. He has been, I think, significantly more successful coming out of the bullpen than we may have seen him as a starter. I kind of like him in that spot, especially as we have a couple of these guys who are not yet going deep into games. And it is nice to have a guy like Norris who can pitch extended for a reliever like Norris, that I hope they don't move him into a rotation spot quite yet. I think the plan seems to be to kind of keep him where he is, especially being able to go lefty to lefty is just really nice. It's a good look that I think is working for them right now, and I hope that they keep it going.
So one of the actually issues I had on my kind of pros and cons list right now, I think, and this kind of will date to Friday's game, but also combined Friday and Sunday's games we both ended up winning, which is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
But I think one of our biggest issues right now is Michael Fulmer. And in my opinion, although I do think Norris has been great out of the pen, I think the issue with Daniel Norris is we don't know where he lies on the team. Like, we know he's a good pitcher, but it's like one day he's going to be our fourth or fifth guy in the rotation. Then it's like, no. One day we wanted to piggyback with other starters. It's like, it's got to be as frustrating for him as it is for us, because we just don't know what's going on with the guy. He started all of last season as a starter pretty much, and now this year he's back to the bullpen. So I don't know, and you are right. He's been great kind of coming out of the bullpen and as that kind of backup to guys like Fulmer or Skubal, who can't go anything more than 2 or 3 innings, it seems, at this point. The only comment I was going to make there, I guess, where I would kind of disagree is if it comes down to being like we need either Fulmer or Norris to pitch, I'd much rather see Norris get the start and move Fulmer to the bullpen. I just have not been impressed with either Carson Fulmer or Michael Fulmer this season. If
that's fair. That's fair.
In 2020, I'm sorry, it's been abysmal. I know they DFA'd Carson Fulmer the other day, which I thought was honestly one of the smartest moves they've made this entire season. Guy was terrible. He was absolutely terrible for the Tigers. But Michael Fulmer hasn't been much better. So I almost would kind of like to see the roles reversed and maybe put Michael Fulmer in the bullpen for a bit. Maybe that helps him out. I don't know. I don't know if it will or if it won't. But yeah, Norris has been great. He looked real good, helping out Skubal on Sunday, coming in after him. So it's encouraging to see. And that's what they did with Norris pretty much towards the tail end of last season. They had him only go 3 innings. He would usually come out as a starter and only pitch 3 innings. So I mean, if this is what we're going to do with him, fine. Let's just get a definitive thing that he's doing. And I guess if every now and then you need a spot start guy, he can be your man. But I mean, it's not bad to have a guy like him if he can go 3 or 4 innings in your bullpen, especially if you're getting to those extra inning scenarios. Wouldn't be bad to kind of have a pseudo starter, that needs to go 2 or 3 innings when you're an extra. So just some kind of food for thought there. But yeah, overall, I agree. Daniel Norris looked real sharp Sunday, which is awesome because also we just like the guy. He's a good dude. We want to see him succeed. So thumbs up there. That was a big positive to see him.
I think this is off baseball a little bit, but I think Daniel Norris has the best look of any of the Tigers pitchers. Like Daniel Norris comes out, and I'm like, yeah, that guy. He's simultaneously looks. I mean, he looks exactly like what he is, right? He's an accomplished jock who's also like this weird poet.
Who lives in a van.
I'm like, man, this guy has lived life. I want to just have a beer with him and hear all about his thoughts on the universe.
If Daniel Norris ever invited us into his van to have a beer and listen to his poetry, I don't think I could say the word yes please fast enough. That would be the invite of the century. Daniel, if you're out there listening to the show or watching the show on Facebook, please, we would love to see the van.
Daniel, we'll give you an whatever amount of time you want to just go live on our feed. It's all yours, Daniel. It's all yours.
All yours, buddy. Yeah, I want to go to the van, hear the poetry, have a beer, and I think he surfs too. I mean, obviously he surfs. Just look at the guy. I mean, he probably was he was a shoo-in to be in the Point Break remake, but then he couldn't do it because of the season or whatever, I'm sure. But so. To each their own.
There are a couple of guys in Major League Baseball that I'm like, if you showed me a black and white picture of this guy, I would have no idea what era of baseball we were in. I'd be like, could be today, could be 1904. I don't. Could be 1961. I don't.
Who knows? Who knows? Yeah, that could be.
Who
Could be.
has any idea? All right, so then let's move to Saturday and let's talk about Matt Boyd, who had a really great start through 5 innings.
Yeah, it was Matt's. Yeah, it was Matt's best start of the year.
And then we got to 6, and there's much debate about what should have happened in that 6th inning. I tend to come down on the camp that after that first walk is when he probably should have come out of the game. I think you could make the argument that Matt Boyd getting tired going into the 6th, as Gardy said, he knew he was getting tired going into the 6th, and so that to me is like maybe we should have sat him down then. That Matt Boyd has not proven himself to be a pitcher that can work when tired.
Yep.
And so as soon as he's like, I'm tiring, as soon as you see that coming out of the 5th inning, yeah, get somebody up in the bullpen and let's go. Because he's not a guy who works well tired. He's not. He's not Justin. He's not Verlander, who would just like dial it up to 105 in the 8th suddenly, and you're like, where did that come from? That's never going to happen with Matt Boyd. So, so I mean, you just gotta pull. But I know you have a lot of thoughts on the 6th inning and Matt Boyd, so I turn the floor over to you.
Okay, so here's the deal. Matt Boyd's start on Saturday was by far his best start of the season. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It was his best. I think he was scoreless through going into the 6th inning. He was scoreless going into the 6th inning. So I mean, it was great. I don't think he had any walks. Strikeouts were up, let up a few hits, kept the ball in the ballpark, which is obviously his biggest Achilles heel, we know. And in general, he just seemed to be attacking hitters, getting first pitch strikes, changing speeds effectively. And also, one thing I really liked was his overall tempo on the mound was quick. It was quick. I didn't feel like there was a lot of kind of just, logging around and just, lollygagging it. I really felt like he throw the ball, get it back, throw the ball, get it back. And I think him and Romine had a really good, plan and rapport on Saturday's game. So then that brings us into the 6th inning. I am not mad that they let him go out there for the 6th inning. However, I will echo your thoughts, and I was tweeting all about it after the game on Saturday. I think he was on a 1-batter limit. The minute someone got on via the hit, walk, whatever it might be, he gets pulled. Instead, Gardy leaves him in there 2 batters too long, in my opinion. Then he brings in Schreiber. Schreiber can't get the job done, and the rest is history. So in my eyes, as soon as he walked Jose Ramirez, I think I would have pulled him immediately and brought in Schreiber, who, by the way, although he did not end that stint like we would have liked him to, he had good numbers going into that appearance. And through 10 games, he was looking really good. ERA was low, was attacking hitters, had a good strikeout to walk ratio. I mean, overall, Schreiber had good numbers.
Appearance started well.
What's that?
And the appearance started well.
Yeah, it started well too, because I think he got Franmil Reyes, which is the guy's been a huge, kind of pain in the butt this entire season. So I mean, it started well, but then the walks happened, and then he walks that one guy, Ludlow or whatever, who was hitting 67. He was hitting .067. How does that guy get a free pass? I mean, it was insane to me that we couldn't attack that guy. That guy you're afraid to pitch to. If I'm that guy, I'm sorry. I'm throwing him fastballs. And if he beats me, he beats me. But I'm not about to walk the guy who can't even crack the hundreds. I'm not going to walk the guy who can't even hit his weight right now. And that's what happened. They would get these guys, and Schreiber, to his credit again, would get these guys 0-2, 1-2, and then he would let the at-bat slip away from them. And then from there, the rest was history, and the inning unraveled before our very eyes. So to me, the reason why I think I'm so mad, and I really kind of place a lot of this blame on Gardy. I love Gardy, but I got to give him some crap here. Matt Boyd has had an atrocious season thus far. What better way to build your quote unquote aces confidence than by watching him go out there, toss a scoreless outing against the Cleveland Indians, who had just kicked your ass for a year and a half, and then toss it over your bullpen. And you know what? Hey, if after that, if the bullpen gives it up, it is what it is. That's how baseball goes. But at least get Matt Boyd off the hook. At least get him off the leash, so at least he can leave with the confidence being like, you know what? I went 5 1/3, had a real good start. And even if that run that he walks comes around to score, he can at least say, you know what? I went 5 1/3. I gave up a run against the Indians. I'll take that. I think Gardy screwed him over. Plain and simple. I think he left him in there way too long. And if what you said is true, that Gardy knew he was tiring, why did you not have someone warmed up, ready to go the minute Boyd went out there for the 6th? I'm sorry, I love Gardy, but it was horrendous managing on his part. It was really the first time this season I could be like, what the hell, Gardy? What are you thinking? That was horrible. It was an absolute horrible decision on his part. It cost Matt Boyd a potential win, gave him a guaranteed loss. Again, we can't say who knows what happens between innings 7 and 9, even if we get out of that 6th inning unscathed. But the thing I'm most kind of agitated and fired up about is I really think Gardy kind of screwed over Matt Boyd here. And this was the Matt Boyd that we know and love. Yeah, it's been horrible up to this point, but this was a good start. It should have been a huge confidence boost for him. I hope it was. I hope he didn't leave here completely defeated and just feeling down on his luck, because it was a good start. I honestly think Gardy just kind of screwed the pooch on this one, and he left his starter out to dry.
And you hope that the internal conversation is between either Rick Anderson or Gardy with Matt Boyd is that, we messed up. Like you did everything right in the scenario. And we should have, it is their job as coaches to pull him from that situation, to keep him out of it, because his arm just wasn't there anymore at that point in the game. Like, he was up at 90 pitches. Like that's also, that's a different problem of too many pitches in an inning that kind of has been plaguing these Tigers starters as well. Instead of getting out of innings in 15 pitches, it's taking them 20, 25 pitches to get out of innings. That adds up. It means you can't go as late into the game as you could. But, Matt got to 90 pitches, and that's a fine number that we,
But no, I was going to say this too. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. But the other thing too, I'm thinking of with Gardy, and why again I'm kind of going, well, what were you and Rick Anderson thinking? Matt Boyd was coming into that inning at the bottom of the 6th inning. He was facing 2, 3, and 4 for Cleveland. He was facing the heart of their order. Which, I mean, hey, if Matt Boyd is going out there and if he's having a better start to this season, than he has had, I'm okay with being like, you know what? Let's see it, Matt. You're the ace. You got to step up. This is how it works. But it has not been that narrative this season for Matt Boyd. It has been a horrific nightmare of a season for him, this year. And I feel for Matt Boyd. I really do. Now I know you could be like, well, why weren't you feeling from his other 4 starts? Well, because I gave him crap then, but I want to have his back now. They weren't great.
Yeah.
They weren't great, but this was good. And I just felt like this could have been a really positive step toward Matt Boyd, hopefully regaining some of that name that we saw in the early season of 2019. So it is what it is. It's in the past. We took 2 or 3 from Cleveland. That's great. And I don't want to harp on Gardy. I mean, I do like Gardy. I did see some tweets after last night's game or Saturday night's game being like, I think it's time, to call out Gardy, kick him out. And I don't think we're there yet. Personally, I think there's a lot other people associated with this team right now, Al Avila, who need to kind of get their comeuppance before Ron Gardenhire does. I think Ron Gardenhire from 2018 till now has done the best he can do with this at sometimes freshman B team lineup and rotation that he has been given. So it is what it is. But yeah, the Saturday night thing, I'm sorry, that one, in my opinion, is on Gardy. I'm sure, and I hope that Rick Anderson and Gardy pulled Matt Boyd aside to kind of have that private conversation. Be like, yep, that was on us. We should have pulled you sooner. And, hopefully we can live and learn. And let's just hope that Boyd takes that confidence from that Saturday night start into his next start, which I believe will be against Minnesota, I want to say. Yeah,
that should be when he's due, probably on that Thursday game. Yeah.
He's going to go from one top dog to another. So, I mean, it's not going to get any easier.
No, Luke, this is not the first time in Detroit sports that people have been calling for the wrong person to be fired. I think about the Detroit Lions when Steve Mariucci was the head coach in the midst of it's hard to say that the Lions were in the midst of a rebuild because they've kind of been in the midst of a rebuild since 1950.
Yeah.
But they were in the midst of a rebuild. Steve Mariucci was in his 3rd season. They'd be getting better every year. And then the decision was made to fire Mariucci instead of firing GM Matt Millen. And I don't know if you know this, the Lions still haven't appeared in a Super Bowl. So
I'm aware. As a Chicago Bears fan, I'm aware. Can't wait to beat you guys week 1 of the NFL season if we have one. I think we will. We're going to beat you.
But yeah, I mean, if that kind of sentiment from Tigers Twitter of like, maybe it's time to fire Gardy is like, no, hang on, we've made this mistake before.
Like, let's go for the top
Detroit.
dog. Yeah, don't shoot the messenger. Shoot the guy who's the top dog. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kind of alliance Al Avila and Chris Ilitch have. Maybe they have like naked pictures of each other that like they're kind of holding each other for ransom. I don't know, but it's in my opinion, a lot of times it's Tweedledee and Tweedledumbass running things at the top, and it's not doesn't bode well for us necessarily. But hey, you know what? Hopefully we can all turn it around. Isn't it funny what a 9-game losing streak will do to you when I've said this whole season, I kind of want to, of Al Avila, give him more of a chance. No, 9 games, it's on Al Avila. It's back to me and him. We're at odds. We're rivals. And, maybe we have to go to couples therapy to smooth our relationship over, but that's not going to happen this season at least. So,
well, and you think about like with the Ilitches and Al Avila, I'm not bothered by the Ilitch's more or less hands-off approach to the Tigers when things are going well and when Dombrowski's running things and they're just like, yeah, sure, write the check. But when we have Al Avila not making great decisions as the GM and nobody holding him accountable for that, that's when the absentee ownerism of the Ilitches is a real problem.
I saw a tweet, I believe, the other day, and it said that Theo Epstein made a comment being like, yeah, whatever happens after 2021, we'll just kind of have to wait and see. Detroit, Theo Epstein? Sometime this decade? What do you think? I don't know. We'll have to cross our fingers and see. I mean, here's the other thing too. Al Avila is only here for 1 more year. He signed that 2-year extension because this was supposed to be a contract year, but he got the 2-year extension towards the tail end of last season. So he's got 1 more year. Gardy, this is a contract year for him. Who knows what happens? I think almost at the end of the season we should do an episode where it's like performance reviews, and maybe we can go player by player and coach by coach, and maybe we vote if we think they should stay or get the going into next year, but we'll have to kind of wait and see there. But yeah, who knows? We'll have to see. So it's exciting.
Yeah. You had some statistics you wanted to talk about.
I do. I know we're kind of getting close to time here. So I just made earlier today just a kind of a list of pros and cons, issues, things of that nature that I noticed over the course pretty much of this 9-game losing streak, in particular this past week, getting swept by the Sox and then taking 2 of 3 against Cleveland. So would you like me? I'm going to start with the negative first. So let's end the episode on a positive note. So
I like that.
Here is the first, in my opinion, next to the very spotty starting pitching. I think the biggest thing plaguing this team right now, and that's strikeouts. Too many strikeouts. This team committed. I'm just going off this past week alone against the Sox and the Cleveland Indians. We struck out 31 times against Cleveland this past weekend. And then last week against the Sox, we had, didn't write that down. I think it was, I'm going to have to do on-the-spot math. Help me out here. I want to say it was 47 because I totaled up all the games together, and for the last 7 games, they had 81 strikeouts. So 81 minus 31 would be
50.
Damn it. Okay, so we had. I'm not a mathematician. Don't ever pretend to be. So 81 strikeouts in the last 7 games.
That's atrocious.
That comes down to, I did do this math. Thank you, iPhone calculator. That comes out to about 11 and a half strikeouts a game. That will not win you anything. No. I'm sorry. The fact that we were able to take 2 of 3 from Cleveland, even after we struck out 31 times, to me, I think that is a bit of a job well done. But yeah, 81 strikeouts in 7 games.
We've been having that conversation the entire season.
It's not getting better. It's getting worse.
We won the season series against the Reds despite striking out X number of times.
Yep.
We split with the Royals despite striking out X number of times. And there is a certain amount of that comes with being a big hitting club.
Yeah.
Where you're going deep for a lot of your runs, but it is also just like very undisciplined plate appearances that that are not getting more disciplined, and so that's on the coaching staff that they aren't.
That's on. I mean, in particular, that's on Joe Vavra, the hitting coach. I mean,
yeah.
But after a while too, I've always kind of had the mindset like, yeah, you can definitely point blame on the hitting coach, but after a while, it's not like Joe Vavra's taking these at bats. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, it's these guys who are making millions of dollars, and they just need to be better. So that was my first big one. Also, I already kind of touched upon it, so I'll move on. I said the Michael Fulmer point. If it comes down to Michael Fulmer getting a start or Daniel Norris, I'm going to say it again. I'd like to see Daniel Norris get that start. Maybe move Fulmer to the pen, and maybe he finds some of his old stuff that made him Rookie of the Year. I don't know, but yeah, just kind of some food for thought there. This next topic will kind of relate to Sunday's win, actually. Everyone pitched well on Sunday except one guy, and he's our closer, and I just looked at his numbers on the season, and they ain't pretty. High ERA, just not great overall. Joe Jimenez. I'm starting to worry about him. I don't know if he's the closer of the future. I really don't. I don't feel confident putting him out there, and if I'm being completely honest, out of kind of our little three-headed monster that we have in the bullpen, I think he is the weakest of the three when talking about him, Buck Farmer, and Gregory Soto. So I would rather see at this point Buck or Soto maybe get a start. Now, maybe not this season just because it's 60 games. You know, we'll be done here in about a month, a little more. But going forward, there's some questions about Joe Jimenez that need to be answered because I don't really trust him in safe situations. And I'm sorry, if he had a 7-1 cushion to go into today just to get some work done, he gave up a 3-run bomb. I mean, he looked bad. He was walking. He gave up 2 walks. He just didn't look good. So there's a conversation to be had about Joe Jimenez maybe this offseason or sometime in spring of next year because I don't feel confident right now.
I think similarly, Luke, to a lot of the let's bring the young guys up. Like why not try sending out Soto for 7 and 8 and having Buck close? We've seen Soto go out for 2 innings before. We know that he's capable of doing it, especially if he gets through the first one clean. And obviously you can mess with that a bit based on hitting matchups as they may shift. Like maybe you have him go 1 2/3 and then bring in somebody to get that final out of the 8th. But to set up Buck, I think Buck has been pretty shut down in the 8th, and so why not give him a shot at the 9th and go from there? That to me is the next logical step because Joe has looked bad, but Joe looked terrible today in a situation. And there's only so many times I can excuse Joe's poor performance of like, well, it wasn't a true save situation because he's had plenty of save situations that have looked exactly like this as well. Yeah. So, it's been bad pitching from Joe.
We've seen him when he's on, he's on. I mean, but that's with any pitcher. When they're on, great. But the problem with Joe is he's off a lot. And as a closing pitcher, as a closer for a team, you can't really be off ever. Yeah, ever. You're not going to, you're never going to go 43 for 43 or whatever. You're never going to go perfect. You might blow a couple here and there, but he's just looked off a lot. And maybe, we were kind of talking about big contract signings in the offseason or trades. Maybe that's what we bring in. Maybe it's not a big bat. Maybe it's not a big starting pitcher. Maybe we just go out there and get a solid setup guy or closer for the 9th inning and via trade or a signing of some sort. That's maybe an area where we could honestly use some help. We always have said for years how the bullpen has been bad. And, I really can't look back on many of my Tiger careers and seeing players of being like, okay, yeah, this guy's coming in the 9th. It's a done deal. Valverde? No, absolutely not. Love Shane Green, but even him, not so much. Joaquim Soria? Nah. Francisco Rodriguez, they had a couple seasons there where they were good. I know K-Rod had that one really good season, as did Valverde, but overall it's just kind of like, I still don't feel confident. Tigers go on with it. I mean, even today, 7-1 lead. Joe starts walking guys, and I think in the back of my head, there's a chance this could not go in our favor. I've seen it before. Yeah. I would not be surprised. Granted, it didn't come to that, but those thoughts do run across your mind after you get burned as much as we have been in the past. So moving on. More taking it back to the hitting stuff. Overall, and they had a better game on Sunday. Top of the order has been, in my eyes, pretty inconsistent. and in particular pointing the finger at Nico Goodrum. And it pains me to say this, but Miguel Cabrera. Now, granted, they both Miggy and Nico had much better games on Sunday, so that was good to see. But overall, they've both just looked pretty abysmal. And in particular, maybe this is just the season where I got to call out some of my favorites. I did it with Matthew Boyd, and I got to do it now with Miggy. But Miggy's looked bad. He's just looked really, really bad. Now, I will say this. A lot of times, Miggy's kind of gotten burned by the shift. But guess what? The shift is a part of Major League Baseball, so you got to find a way to work around it. But in general, he's not catching up to the fastball. And even sometimes not fastballs that are 98, 99, 100. He's striking out on 92, 93 mile per hour fastballs. And it's like, Miggy, what you got to be able to hit a fastball as a major league hitter. And it's almost like watching your grandparents get old in a way. You knew how young and active they were 10 years, 15 years ago, and you see where they're at now, and it's like they don't have that spring in their step as they once did. And that's kind of where we're at with Miggy. And look, I'll be the first one to say it. I was talking up Miggy big time. We'd seen, we had heard, we got to watch those 2 weeks of spring training games, and he looked good. He looked like the old Miggy. He looked slimmed down, but this Miggy we're seeing right now this season, it's just not cutting it, unfortunately. And I know Joe Vavra made a comment saying that he's not worried about Miguel Cabrera at the plate, and maybe this his performance that Sunday, maybe that's kind of the catalyst to get him going. But I'm sorry, I am worried. He's your number 3 hitter, and he's not even hitting 200. That is I think, and anyone who knows baseball, that is a problem. That is a very big problem that you should be worried about. And I get it; it's hard. We lost C.J. Cron. And you don't want to. Where are you gonna move Miggy down to maybe 4 or 5? But I mean, who would have thought maybe that's the conversation they need to have one day? I don't think that happens. I sincerely don't think we'll ever really see that. But what we need with Miggy going forward, I think, we need Miggy to kind of be like Albert Pujols with the Angels. Albert Pujols isn't hitting third because they've got a guy named Mike Trout. Now, unfortunately, I don't think we have a Mike Trout lurking in our system. Maybe we do. Maybe Torkelson or Riley Green turn into Mike Trout. I'm not going to hold my breath on that. I think they're going to be great players. But to be Mike Trout, that's pretty darn hard. But we need Miggy to go to that kind of, maybe he goes down to hitting 5th in the order, and then you have those guys at 2, 3, and 4 that can kind of come in like the Angels do with Ohtani or Upton or Mike Trout. I mean, that's kind of what we just need to see. So maybe at that point in time, we do see, Riley Green, then Spencer Torkelson, then Miguel Cabrera, or, in the order varies, or maybe some other guy we don't even know right now. But it's just overall keeping it this season oriented. It's been a real struggle for Miggy, and it's been tough to see.
Yeah, and it is, it's a particularly hard decision to make because it feels like for so long, like Miguel Cabrera batting third has just been like printed on the stationery. Like that's what's going to happen. And he's hitting 180, and you can't have a 180 guy hitting 3-4 in your lineup. Like you have to look at moving him down to 5, and that's I can definitely understand, again, like a lot of these decisions. If the Tigers were sitting here at 500 right now as we approach the midpoint of the season, I could understand like not necessarily wanting to mess with some of these things, but the season is not over, but the season is over if you don't make some fixes. Yeah. Like the season is definitely done if you don't fix some of these problems. And one of those problems is that Miguel Cabrera is batting third, hitting 180.
Well, the issue too is, another big issue too is, and this isn't really the players, it's just how things shaped up. I was listening to Dan Dickerson and the Tigers radio guys driving home from golf today, and in a 162 game season, you know what, you can go out and have a bad first 60 games because you know what, you've got 3.5, 4 months to figure it out. Unfortunately, the Tigers don't have that. They're approaching. They've got 30 games left, and that's it. And then the season's done for. So I don't think you'll see, just because of that reason alone, there really only is like a month left of the season, a little bit more. I don't think you're going to see any drastic changes with like Gardy being like, we're gonna put Miggy at 5 and hopefully he figures it out. I think he probably just rides it out. He tries to toughen it out. We know he can still hit. It's not a matter that like it's not like he's completely out of it. We've seen him hit this season. We still know that he's got the power there in the bat. He has slimmed down. I think he needs definitely go more lower body. I think he's trying to go all arms right now. But that just is what it is. So yeah, Miggy's struggles are definitely at the top of my list. And then the last thing I've got for the issues, and then we'll go to the pros. I know we kind of want to wrap up here soon. We love this guy. We've talked about him a lot. We have given him a lot of benefit of the doubt when Tigers Twitter had not been. But now I'm going to I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. Kristen Stewart's bad. And I don't know if he's bad overall or if he's just having an atrocious season, but last year wasn't great. This year has been even worse, I think. I think Kristen Stewart needs to be sent down, and I think it is time to call up Derek Hill, Das Cameron, Travis Demeritte, somebody. Any one of those guys can do a better job than Kristen Stewart has been doing, because right now he's a liability everywhere. He can't play left field. He's got a horrendous arm. Speed isn't there. You think he has power because he's got the body of Hulk Hogan or Thor. I mean, the dude's jacked, but I honestly can't remember the last time I saw him get a base hit, let alone a home run. So it's like we have both vouched for him. We both thought he could maybe come together, and maybe next season when it's 162, if he's still getting a chance to play, maybe he does. But as it stands right now, when baseball is a game of what have you done for me lately, all he's done lately has been awful. So I think he needs to kind of take a back seat for a bit. And God knows the outfield is cluttered right now. I mean, I know Mayburn's kind of banged up, but you've got Victor Reyes, you've got Jacoby Jones, you've got Jorge Bonifacio, and then waiting in the minors, you've got Das Cameron, Travis Demeritte, Derek Hill. Get one of those guys up here and give them a chance. Kristen Stewart is not cutting it. So I don't know what Derek Hill has done. He must have been like a huge jackass to somebody, because it seems like he does not get the time of day ever. This is definitely an old school name I'm throwing back to the Tigers from like 2008, 2009. Tigers used to have this utility infielder named Danny Worth. And I always thought he was okay, not horrible, not great, but just okay to the point where I thought maybe he deserved more of a shot than he got. And the guy just completely got ghosted, it seemed, every season. Every season, maybe made it for September call-ups, but that was pretty much it. I feel like Derek Hill is our Danny Worth right now from seasons past. So I want to see Derek Hill get a chance. I want to see Das Cameron get a chance. Hell, give Travis Demeritte a chance. I actually think he's not as bad as everyone claims he is. I think he's got speed. I think he's a threat on the bases. All three of those guys are at least better on threat bases than Kristen Stewart is right now. So we'll have to see. I know we got Victor Reyes. He's been there, but Travis
Demeritte at least feels like he's fighting for it when he's in there, and I don't get that feeling from Kristen. Like it's just,
it's been bad.
It's just kind of it's just not been good. You said it all. I can't add anything to that.
Yep. So okay, let me rifle through these pros real quick, and on a positive note, and then hopefully we can get a win against the Cubs tonight because our listeners are listening on a Monday. Yeehaw.
That's right.
Okay, so the pros, and I already kind of talked about this at the top of the show. It's great to see these young guys here. Mize, Scooble, Paredes, welcome to Detroit. We can't wait to see you guys play more of that old English D for years to come. Keep kicking ass. We're happy to have you. But let's see more guys. Let's see Matt Manning. Let's see Jake Rogers. I mean, why? I mean, I know Griner had the home run on Sunday. That's great. But still, why is Jake Rogers not here? Why is he not getting an opportunity? Same thing as I just mentioned before. Derek Hill, Das Cameron, get those guys opportunities. I feel like they need him. Faedo, I'd like to see him come up here. Just in general, I'd like to see more of these younger guys come up. Maybe we do when September call-ups happen. I don't know, because do the rosters, they're getting extended in September for call-ups, right?
I don't actually know how the roster, because we're already, because we're at 26. I
don't know. I would assume,
or maybe we're staying at 28 the rest of the year.
I honestly don't know. So if some sort of
there was a plan and they changed it.
Yeah, I don't remember honestly. So that's my bad. But if there is some sort of call up, well, you know what? Let's give those guys a shot. Why not? I just think it'd be nice to see them up here. They're the future, quote unquote. So let's see. I'm not saying you got to call up Riley Green or Spencer Torkelson. If you want to, I'm not going to be mad about it. But, kind of those other guys too, the Mannings, the Faedos, the Derek Hills. Let's see it happen. It's time. Let's give it a shot. I want to give a shout out in general to some Tigers hitters right now who are hitting and are contributing despite this horrific 9-game skid that we just went on. And those 4 guys are Jonathan Scope, Jacoby Jones, Austin Romine, and Jeimer Candelario, who had such a awful start to the season, has really come back strong, not only on defense, but on offense. And even a bigger shout out to Jeimer, because he pretty much got plucked from his nice job at third, where we had seen that he was doing a great job, and he is now playing first now that we've lost CJ Cron for the year. So huge shout out to Jeimer Candelario. I have been really impressed with him this season. And I think he honestly has kind of, I mean, granted, we still got about a month left to go, but he is, at least for now, it seems, brought his name back into the conversation of like, no, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in this lineup every game. I know we've got Paredes. I know we've got Torque coming up, but I still have a spot with this team, and I'm going to prove it to you. And as of now, he's done that. So I just big shout out to Jamer. I've always liked him. We knew what he could do at third. I love that he's a switch hitter, and the bat has really kind of been there, which has been great to see. So big shouts to Jamer. Jacoby Jones still just continues to play solid baseball. Definitely kind of one of those guys who is that spark plug at the bottom of the lineup. Him and Romine, great to see. I want to see that continue. We talked about Romine earlier. He's just been solid overall. I think calling games behind the plate and just at bat, I feel confident when he's up there with runners on. I feel like he can poke a single, take a walk, whatever it might be. I think Romine's been good. And Scope. Obviously, Scope is kind of, I think, our best hitter on the team right now overall. Who knows if we even have him a week from now? I hope we do. If we don't, Jonathan, go out, get a ring. It's been a pleasure to have you in Detroit. And as long as you're with the Tigers, they'll keep it up because I think he's been great at the plate. Really, he really he was although this entire 9-game losing streak was awful, and in particular that sweep to the Sox this past week was bad, he was the only guy in the lineup who was hitting. So, and he hit a moonshot Friday night against Cleveland. I'm pretty sure that ball is now in orbit. That's how far he hit that ball. So shouts to Scope and those four guys.
He hit it from Cleveland to Detroit. It actually landed in Comerica Park.
Absolutely. So shouts to those four guys. I've been really impressed with them, and by no means like huge names. Definitely like kind of bottom of the lineup guys like Jacoby and Romine and Candy, but they've stepped up, and I've loved to see, and I hope it continues. And then I already talked about the Boyd start. I thought it was his best start of the season, so hopefully we can kind of transition into future starts with him. We love you, Matt Boyd. We don't. I hate it. It kills me to pick on guys like Matt Boyd and Miggy, but if we're being impartial and honest, we've got to do it. But you know what? He had that great start Saturday. Obviously, it didn't end like the way we would have wanted it to, but let's just see starts like that from here on out. That would be awesome. And finally, I want to give one last shout out to the bullpen, because although I don't think Joe Jimenez has been doing great, I know Soto's been banged up a little bit his last few outings. He had a couple better ones this against Cleveland, though, which was good to see. Soto, Buck Farmer, Brian Garcia, Jose Cisnero, and actually Kyle Funkhauser, who had a real rough start. His last few appearances have been pretty solid. Haven't been 1, 2, 3 perfect, but he's been better out there. He's been kind of building up and just doing better and better, I feel like, as appearances go. So just a quick shout out to the bullpen. I do think the bullpen, honestly, is much better than last season. There are guys that I think we could maybe see from here on out, maybe going into next year and seasons beyond. Only time will tell. But just a quick shout out to those guys, because I think they kind of go unrecognized, because when you're going through a 9-game losing streak, nobody gets real good positive recognition, nor really should they. But those 5 guys in the pen, I've been pretty impressed with, especially Buck Farmer, who I was never a big Buck Farmer guy back in the day. He's actually the second longest tenured Tiger behind Miggy. And I was never a huge Buck Farmer, in 2017, 2018, but from last year in 2019 to now, he's really dialed it in, and he's been a really good setup man in the 8th. So I hope that continues, and hope overall we can take this momentum from the Cleveland win and bring it into this next series against the Cubs and then the Twins.
Absolutely. And so let's just real quick, the Cubs did beat the White Sox on Sunday afternoon. That game just went final a few minutes ago as we were recording. So the Cubs are now 17-10 as they make their way into Detroit for a 3-game series. In that we have obviously Casey Mize with the start on Monday night. Then the ball goes to Spencer Turnbull. And then we get Fulmer on Wednesday as the projected rotation for the next 3 days, and then we have a 4-game set against the Twins for the first time this season. First time we're seeing the Minnesota Twins this year. For me, these are 2 great ball clubs that are coming in to Detroit this week. So for me, I'm just looking for this team to compete. I don't want to see them like they did in the 9-game skid. Just kind of fold into themselves. I want to see them in games. I have no expectation that we're going to go on a 7-game winning streak by any stretch of the imagination, but I do want to come out of the week at right around that 500 number at the worst. That's what I want to see. I want, you're at home. You're supposed to win games at home. That's the way it goes.
100% agree. You got to win on your home turf, just because that's how it has to be with sports. You got to protect your house. So go out there and protect it this week. But I'm with you too. Hey, if they want to go on a 7-game win streak and sweep these guys, that'd be awesome. I'll tell you this much: if they go on a 7-game win streak and sweep the Cubs and the Twins, we're having a much different conversation on next week's episode. But I'm not going to hold my breath that happens. The Cubs and the Twins are both very good ball clubs. And it's not going to be easy from here on out. We're not playing really any quote unquote weak teams. Yeah, I know we're going to see the Royals in September, but even the Royals, they can swing it. They can dish it. We're going to see the Sox more. We're going to see Cleveland. We're going to see a lot of the Twins. We've yet to see them at all this season. So just go out there, play clean, competitive baseball. I'd like to see this team have a little bit more of punchback, whether it's on the offense or the pitchers coming in late to kind of have that swagger that they had early on when they went 9-5. But I know that's kind of a hard formula to replicate. It was easy against a team like the Pirates. Don't know if it's going to be easy against a team like the Twins. Only time will tell. Twins are a hell of a ball club. Cubs are a hell of a ball club. We know what the Sox can do. We know what Cleveland can do. It's not going to get any easier from here on out. So just go out there, play clean games, play smart games, and fight. And that's all you can do. Let's see these youngsters kind of continue to grow and develop. Hopefully, more positive starts for guys like Skubal and Mize, Paredes with those great ABs. Hopefully we can get guys like Miggy and Nico consistently going. And the Scopes, the Jacoby Joneses, the Candelarios, the Romines, just keep doing what you're doing. Those bullpen guys that I mentioned, Farmer, Soto, Funkhauser, Garcia, Cisnero, keep it going. There are parts of this team, believe it or not, that are working. They are. There's just a lot of parts of this team that aren't. So now it is, you got to get everyone, again, we're building a snowman here. We got to keep pushing that ball and eventually go bum, 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 put some carrots, some stick arms, a top hat, and bam, you got yourself a beautiful Frosty, which translates to a World Series championship. Let's build a snowman this weekend. Do you want to build a snowman? I do. Let's win a World Series. Maybe not this year, but soon. Go Tigers.
I'd sing the song, but I don't want to get sued by Disney. So,
never a good thing.
But yes, we will be here during the week. We'll be here on Mondays. We will be here throughout this. Find us on Twitter at @Mish_Trumbull. If you've got a friend who is a fan of the Detroit Tigers, that's what I'm trying to say. Make sure you tell them about our show. We would love to have them join in the community conversation that we've got on Twitter, on Facebook, and every week here on the Michigan in Trumbull podcast. Luke, have a good one.
See you, buddy. Have a good week.